Hey everyone, welcome to part 4 of my Klondike tutorial. Before we start, I want to talk about something that I've forgotten about for the past few episodes. I am actually uploading each part to GitHub, and you can find the corresponding part in the archive of the GitHub and download it from there if you don't want to type line by line all the code that I'm writing down. So let's continue with our types.h definition, and today we're just going to be doing some pretty basic stuff. So first of all, we're going to be starting off with a definition for our getCardSuit kind of type of function, which is basically we're going to have a card and we're just going to return card divided by 13. And I'm actually going to change this because we need to do card minus 1 divided by 13 now that we're indexing starting from 0. So this is going to be starting from 1. We're indexing at 1. We have to subtract 1 from that and then divided by 13. And then we have our getCardRank function, and we're just going to do the same thing from over here. We're going to subtract 1 from card since we are now indexing from 1. And I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. So again, set a constant expression since this can kind of be evaluated at the start of the program. And it's going to take in this card input and it's going to output divided by 13. And let me explain this real quick. So if we have a card that, let's say we have our Queen of Clubs and its value is going to be 12, so we subtract 1, that is 11. So when we take 11 and we divide it by 13, we're going to get 0. So therefore, we're going to get our suit, which is going to be in the 0 suit. And let's say we have our ace of spades. Now that it's 14 and we minus 1, it's going to start at 13. And 13 divided by 13 is 1, as we all know. So we now know that this is a spade. And for our rank, it's kind of a similar thing, but instead of divide, we're going to have our modulo operation. So basically, let's say in our same example, we have our Queen of Clubs at 12, which is just 11, and we modulo 13, it's just going to be 11 again. So now we know that this rank is 11. And for example, our Queen of Spades, we subtract 1, so we have 24. We modulo by 13, and we actually get the same value of 11. So we know that these two are at the same rank, and this is just going to be easier for when we want to see if a move is valid or not. Finally, we're going to have some things that I'm actually personally not very familiar with. I've actually borrowed this code from some other programs that I've written before. So basically what we're defining is we're going to have this macro, which is enable increment operations on, and basically we're just going to define that when we're doing a plus plus or a minus minus on this type, that we're just going to return our integer d plus 1 and integer d minus 1. And this is for convenience since we are actually using a more structure-based typing. And over here, we're going to increment our operations on our cards, our piles, and our suits. Finally, I want to add a makefile since this entire project is going to be under a, we're going to be compiling in our command line instead of using the Visual Studio compiler. So basically, we're going to have this code over here. And I first want to talk about what a makefile is. So when you download C++, you have your compiler, and most people just download Visual Studio and just get it over with. But what I actually am going to recommend you download is your GNU, which is the most commonly used compiler. And I'm actually using Chocolatey with GNU, and you also want to download Make with that. And basically, this is just going to make it very easy to compile in the command line. Now, I'm not too familiar with the syntax for makefiles, but I'm going to explain it to the best of my ability. So we have our sources, which is wildcard.cpp, and this is basically telling the compiler that, hey, in this entire file where the makefile is at, this entire folder, I want to compile all the files that start with CPP. Every single file that is a C++ file, I want to compile it. Our name of the program is, again, GCK, which is our or sorry, not GCK, it's going to be our CGK, which is command line game of Klondike. And we're going to have two different types of compiling parameters. We're going to have our all, which is just going to compile in a more fast manner. We're not really too worried about optimization. And then we have our release. And in our release, we're going to have -o fast, so it's going to try its best to optimize our programs and our for loops. And we're also going to have -static, which is basically going to tell the compiler to include the default C++ libraries in our compilation. And this is just so if you want to share, for some reason you want to share this executable with a friend, have them try it out on their computer, and they don't do any sort of C++ programming, it will run on their computer. So yeah, that's pretty much for this tutorial. Again, the code is going to be available on GitHub for download if you don't want to type it all out. And I'll see you guys in the next part.